Today, I'm going to talk to you about why focus on listings, where to find listings, and then in part 2, we're going to talk about the actual listing appointment and then servicing the listing so that the transaction closes. And a listing, as you all know, is a written authorization of the seller allowing us to do two big things. When you think about what does the seller expect from us, there are really two big categories. One, market the listing to procure the buyer, and then 2, service the listing and manage the transaction to a successful close. So all that we're going to talk about can fall under those two big parts of the umbrella. So let's talk about why is it easier as a successful realtor to focus on listings rather than always work with buyers. Well, imagine that it's Saturday afternoon and you could be home with your family watching a movie or having an Easter egg hunt or going to a soccer game, but instead you're in a car with 2 other children and mom and dad giving a tour of your city looking at 7 properties for 4 hours. And you're going to make that sale, that's great, but had you been home with your family watching the movie and you got a call on your phone from another agent that says, oh, by the way, I'm sending you an offer on your listing. How fun is that? What a great call that is. And so it allows you, by being a listing agent versus a buyer's agent all the time, it gives you greater control of your resources, greater control of your time, your money, and your energy. And as I said before, you're only in control of the market as a company and as a brand, United Real Estate, when we can control the inventory. And then the huge benefit is all the other realtors in your MLS are working for you and your seller. So that's why we are focusing on listings. So where do we get listings? Now, there are some things on this screen that you're seeing right now that could be an entire class themselves, but I'm going to give you just a brief overview. I know you know what the MLS is. MLS stands for Multiple Listing Service. That is a catalog of homes that are for sale in your neighborhood. Well, right now, in most areas of the country, we are in a seller's market. That means demand exceeds supply. When we're in a seller's market, our inventory is very low. Many of our transactions are multiple offers. We have bidding wars, which means we have one winner and a lot of losers. So when you have a buyer and they've lost out on 3 or 4 purchases because they've been in a bidding war and you can't find anything they like or that meets their parameters, think about going to your own database in Peak Performance. I absolutely love it. I use it every day. Peak Performance is our marketing portal. It is our CRM, our Client Relationship Manager, and it is how we keep up with what we're supposed to be doing every day via the calendar. But your database in Peak, your contact management, is just people. So when you can't find a house that your buyer needs or wants, go to your 300 or 400 people in your database, send out a group email or call a few of them and say, I'm desperate. Here's what I need. I need this kind of house. Who do you know that maybe is not on the market yet and who might be interested in selling their home? Your past customers and clients, your sphere of influence, the people in your own neighborhood, sometimes we have to go out of the box, and if it's not in the MLS, we have to make our own MLS of people, of prospects who have homes that they might be willing to sell. Obviously, this is a great time to know how to work a for sale by owner, and a for sale by owner is a different creature than an expired. And I'm going to give you how I do it, and then you talk to your broker about that. If you have another system that works, that's great. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But for FSBOs, I think for sale by owners, I call them dyed-in-the-wool do-it-yourselfers. They are the people who paint their own house, change the oil in their car, mow their own yard. They don't pay anybody to do anything. They have all those books, DIY. They have the entire set. So it would not ever occur to them to not try to sell their own home. Marketing your services to a for sale by owner is a long, drawn-out process. The average time is 4 to 5 weeks, and it works like this. You have to go to the home. You have to knock on the door, and you may never say, I'm here to talk to you about listing your house. Because if you do say that, they're going to tell you no on visit 1, and they will forever keep their word to you, and you'll get nowhere. So it is an attitude of exchange. You go to the door of the for sale by owner and you say, oh, Mr. Seller, my name is Bonnie Mays. I see that right now we're in the same business. You're trying to sell your house, and I think that's great. I just wanted to stop by and introduce myself because I am a realtor. I sell properties in the area, and if there's ever anything I can do to help you, please feel free to call. And you leave. And you go back. It's usually going to take you 3 or 4 or 5 visits, never asking if you can list the house, but always taking the seller something of value. You can take them a sheet of the day's current rates, mortgage rates, and you can say, you'll need these when you're talking to your buyers about filling out contracts and that kind of thing. You might take them a buyer profile sheet. You might take them an open house guest register, and your attitude is always, I'm here to help you. You continue these visits until that seller one day says to you, well, Bonnie, since you're here, let me ask you a question. The question is always the same. Why do you think my house hadn't sold? You know the answer, but you don't tell him. You say, that is a very interesting question. I'm going to have to do a little market research, but I can come back later tonight at 7 or tomorrow at 7 when both you and your wife are at home, which would be better. And then you know how to set an appointment. But he has to ask you for the help before you can go for the appointment. That's the for sale by owner. It's like the expired and the FSBO is like the tortoise and the hare. The FSBO is the tortoise, the expired is the hare. The expired listing, which unfortunately, because we are in a seller's market, there aren't that many expired listings coming on the market right now because everything is selling. If they are expiring, it usually means they're either overpriced or they're in horrible condition or in a bad location. But an expired listing is a very quick process, and it expires at midnight, and the next day you've got to be calling. And there's a great script that if anybody's interested, I can share it with you. But on an expired listing, you call up the seller. If you have access to their number, you're going to have to do some research on white pages. Mr. Seller, this is Bonnie Mays. Is your house still for sale? You can tell by the tone of the voice how happy they are about being an expired listing. They will either say, yes, it is. And you can say, well, is it still listed with whomever it was listed with? And they'll say yes, or they'll say no. And then you say, well, I see that it has expired. It's not currently listed. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think your house didn't sell? And then you have to sometimes hold the phone away from your ear because you're going to hear them rant about what a lazy, low-down, no-good realtor they had. It's always the realtor's fault. Well, in part 2 of this class, we're going to learn there are only 4 reasons that make a house sell. Any market, any city, any price range. But you don't tell them that. You listen and you say, well, I'm very sorry your house didn't sell, but at United Real Estate, we have a system that's designed to solve the problem of why your house didn't sell. And so they're going to say, well, why haven't you sold my house? Well, actually, I haven't seen your house, which is what I need to do next. I can come by this afternoon or I can come by tomorrow. I need to look at your house. And then I promise you I'll be able to tell you why your house didn't sell. And then you go for the appointment. The second place or the third place you find listings are from referrals. Every time you have a closing, I hope that you're getting testimonials because a successful closing is a celebration. And typically when there's a successful closing, there are at least 2, maybe 4 happy parties, 2 agents and a buyer and a seller. So you're going to always have those people, again, in your database so that you can call them up and ask them for referrals. And that is the very best marketing and advertising tool that you have, and that is referrals from happy customers and clients. We have a new vendor that was introduced to us at the United Convention. They're absolutely fabulous. It's called Land Voice, and they have a special system to work with for sale by owners and expires. And so I highly recommend them. We are using them and are just having a great time with their system. I've told you a little bit about what to say with expireds. Here's what you need to remember. They're very frustrated. They have not had any success. Because their house is expired, there is a problem. They think it's the realtor. That has really nothing to do with it. Here are the 4 things that make a house sell: price, condition, location, and seller motivation. So if a family lives in Louisville, Kentucky, and mom has taken a job in Boston, Mass., she has to be in Boston, Mass. May 1. they have to sell. They're motivated. So whenever you go to a listing appointment, you never go until you know why they are selling. Okay? Sometimes sellers say, oh my gosh, I got $50,000 equity. I need to get that from a new house, and I need 20 more to pay off my credit cards, and I'd like to have 10,000 for a European vacation, so we'll just price this house at X and away we'll go. Well, if that's the motivation, you walk away from that listing. So there has to be a motivation. It's the most important factor in taking a listing. Why are we selling? Location, condition, price make all the difference. So you put a listing on the market and nobody comes. It's on 32 websites. You've promoted it on your social media. If you use newspaper, whatever you do, send postcards, really you don't have but 1 or 2 showings in the first 30 days. The only thing the buying public knows is the location and the price. Well, you can't change the location. It's probably the price. By the same token, you put that same listing on the market and you have 6 showings the first 3 days. You have an open house. You have 30 people come, and 2 more weeks go by and you've had a showing almost every other day, but you have no offers. So now the buying public knows the price and they came. They know the location and they came. They did not know the condition, but when they came and saw, they didn't make an offer. So that's probably condition or some obsolescence that cannot be changed. So you're the doctor. You're trying to diagnose why this house didn't sell. This is the conversation that you're going to have when you get the appointment with the expired listings. FSBOs, again, it takes a longer time. You have to go in person. It takes 4 or 5 visits. You never ask for the listing, but you always take something of value. Now we're going to talk about getting ready to list, and we're going to assume that you called that expired listing and you got the appointment and you went out there, or you're going to go out there and list that house. And so you have to decide with every listing, do I take it in 1 appointment or 2 appointments? Or I always tell my agents, unless you've been in that house in the last 90 days, unless it belongs to your brother, or unless it's a good friend and you're at their house regularly, you really don't know if that house is market ready. So it's much safer if you go in 2 appointments. The first appointment, you say to the seller, I need to come out and walk through, take notes, maybe take some pictures. And if you're not familiar with the app called Evernote, Evernote has a microphone and a camera and a video camera. So you can just log into Evernote and talk as you're walking through this house, making notes and making a video. And it makes it much easier when you get back to your desk to do your market analysis to remember, now, was that bathroom off the hall or was it off the bedroom? And it's your own notes. And that is what I think is much better than trying to take your legal pad and pen and write everything down as you're walking through the house. So the first appointment, you're just going to simply go to the home, introduce yourself, walk through, take lots of pictures and lots of notes so that when you get back to the office, you have all the data you need to put a very detailed market analysis together. And then you go back and present that in appointment number 2. Between appointment number 1 and appointment number 2, it should be no more than 48 hours. It's not a 2-week kind of thing, because then the momentum kind of dwindles and they've really kind of forgotten about you and they're not excited about you. In between the first appointment and the second appointment, we're going to go over in just a minute one of our tools that's on the intranet for you to customize that can be emailed to the seller in between that first and second appointment. But at that first appointment, you have to talk to them about, is your home market ready? And during this time, you're going to talk about, do we need to bring in a stager? Sometimes if the home is really bad, it is a very wise use of your resources to pay a stager to come in and tell the seller, we need to take this out, we need to pack these up and put it in the garage, we need to change this, we need to put that leg lamp away. You should take professional photos when you get ready to market the house. Look around in your market and make sure you're using all the best resources that you have. So what does the seller want to know about you? That's what we're going to tell them in this email that I'm going to show you in just a minute. But at this first appointment, you're going to talk to them about what you're going to be doing in between, and that is your market analysis, You're going to be talking to them about pricing strategies, all based on the data available to you through your multiple listing service and comparable sold. And I always tell sellers that a CMA or a market analysis is like a huge algebra problem. And when we all took algebra, we were trying to find the value of X. X was the unknown. X is your subject property. And then you pull up all the comps. You give plus and minus dollar amounts for the tangible, measurable differences. Square feet, number of bathrooms, one car versus two-car garage, fireplace versus no fireplace, that kind of thing. When you explain to them the process, then they have a greater understanding of what that is, so that when you come back in 2 days or 48 hours, they're going to have a working knowledge to some degree of how you have come up with the price recommendation that you have come up with. Sometimes we have to negotiate our fee, and I've done that in a lot of different ways over the years. You know, I always say, well, 2 or 3 things. If I cannot protect my 6%, how do you think I can protect your 94 when we get in the heat of the battle? I have also used dollar bills. I lay out 6 $1 bills on their table, and I say each dollar bill represents 1% of the fee. And in my market, I charge 6. So I automatically fold up 3 and put it away and say, this is what I pay the agent and the company who brings the buyer to your property. And then I fold up another 1 and say, this is what I have to pay to Uncle Sam. And then the 2 that are left, I fold up a part of it and say, this is what I have to pay to my broker. And so you see, are you going to take my last dollar? And that kind of knocks them back on their feet a little bit. And then I can get just really, really silly with them and say, well, you know, you worked at IBM, you work at Xerox, and on Friday you get a check for $3,000. If your boss came in this Friday and said, you know, I know you've been here all week, you've done a great job, but instead of $3,000, do you mind just taking $1,500 this week or $2,000 this week? And you would think he had lost his mind. So that's kind of the way I am. This is my livelihood. I have children in college. I like to go to the grocery store. I have to wear clothes. I have a mortgage. So I really can't do that. And I hope you will understand the answer is no. And anytime you say the answer is no, I can't do that, then you don't speak. You let them speak next, because they will be trying to find their tongue. They're so speechless because you have really put them in their place. But you have to be confident doing that, and you can't be apologetic. You can't be shy. You can't be bashful. Everybody on this call is worth every penny of the commission that you charge. Nobody knows what we do behind the scenes. Sometimes you don't see the brutal stuff we have to solve, the problems we have to solve, and the things we have to do on behalf of our clients, because we do them with confidence and grace and try to keep the mess from them. That's what I think about negotiating your fee. Now, this presentation that's on the intranet, I call it the pre-list presentation. And the pre-list presentation is what you send out to the home, to the seller, between visit number 1 and visit number 2. It has customizable slides, and it has a place for you to add some things about your own market. So, what does the seller want to know about you? What would give the seller confidence about you and your company and how you're going to be able to successfully market their home as they're waiting for you to come back and give them what they want to know, and that is, what price can I expect from my house? So this is a beautiful slide that this is all done for you by our marketing department. But the second slide is the only slide that you have to change. So I recommend to you as agents, you download this PowerPoint presentation and you keep it on your desktop, or you keep it on your iPad, or you keep it on your laptop, because when you have the opportunity to use it, the only slide that you will have to customize with each seller is this one. And if it's an expired listing and it's never been on the market, you can typically go to your PBA site and get some kind of photo and the address, and you know enough about the area that you can say something about the property. The third slide is about you. It is your bio. So again, you do this one time and you don't ever change it. It stays in your iPad, stays in your file, again, so that it can go right out to the seller. And what do you think the seller thinks when they get this? They see their home, they read a little bit about you, And then this is a beautiful program that our marketing department has put together for us. Now, these are some of our friends from the Dallas office and from the Scottsdale office. You can change these pictures, and in a PowerPoint presentation, you right-click, and there's an option that pops up that says Change Picture. Then you can go out to your own pictures, and if you have your photo of your sellers at a closing and they're holding the sold sign and it's a happy day because you just had a closing, put that picture there. Or put another picture. You can be very creative there, because look at all the value right there that is going to your seller if they list with you. And this tells a little bit about United. Now, this picture is of Louisville, Kentucky. I customized that. You can see the race horses at Churchill Down, the Derby, and there's our skyline. A lot of things there that you can customize on your own if you want to. This is where we are in the whole country. That's pretty impressive. And then it talks about how we find buyers. Well, I don't remember what picture was there in the original, but, you know, I thought they might like to see what our for sale sign looks like. So that's why I put that picture in there of the United sign. So again, this talks about our website. I love the paradigm that I've heard so many times from Dan and Peter, is that we are a lifestyle marketing company. And what that means is, when you think about it, buyers make decisions based on their lifestyle. If it's a young family with small children, they play soccer, they play baseball, they're into all the sports, well then you know what kind of neighborhood they want. They want one close to the park. They want one with some kind of family entertainment, swimming pool and all that within the subdivision. If it's an empty nester and he travels, they don't want to be too close, too far away from the airport. So they make decisions based on their lifestyle. This is kind of a summary. This is how we expose your property. Again, you can change your own picture there. You could actually put your own website there if you wanted to. And then I talk a lot about our enhanced marketing service and what that means. And depending on the kind of listing, with a $3 million listing, for sure you're going to bring in enhanced marketing services to see how they can help you successfully market that house. And then I love this summary page. You know, why are we different? What do we have? And this is very concise. It's a great summary. And it says a lot to why this seller should be listing with you in United Real Estate. And then I close with, what are the next steps? This is just a personal thing that I do with every single appointment, whether I'm doing a recruiting interview or buyer interview or seller interview. You don't just stop. You always end with, what is the next step? Again, the seller is going to be reading this because you're going to be sending it out to their home. What are the next steps? Well, this is our appointment coming up in the next few days. And obviously, if you know the appointment, you can put it there. In our part 2, we're going to talk about our customized marketing plan, what that looks like, what you do for them when they're not watching or when they can't see what you're doing for them, what they need to do to get the property market ready. We're going to do the paperwork. We're going to talk about showing procedures. We're going to talk about follow-up reports and much more. Before I go on, now I'm going to stop and see what questions we have.
I like what you showed us with between the first appointment and the second appointment, sending that email. Will you be showing us today an actual listing appointment? I'm generally with buyers, and I really do not have a strong listing appointment other than by referral, and people have known me I've been in this business quite about the same length of time you have, and I really don't have a strong listing appointment. Are you going to go over that as well?
That is in part 2. The whole point of this pre-list packet is that when you get to the listing appointment, we have to go over the comps. You only have to go over, well, first of all, at the listing appointment, you ask if they have any questions from this pre-list presentation that they receive. And this encompasses all of our marketing. It encompasses our history. It encompasses your bio. Truly, that's really a lot of the decision that the seller makes. They're only going to do business with someone they feel like they know a little bit, even if they've just met you, and that they can trust. So that is important that they review this. And if you walk in and they say, well, I got the email, but I haven't had time to look at it, then You're going to have to sit down and walk through it with them, because they have to have this information before they're going to do business with you. It makes you look professional. It explains the history of our company. It shows the support of our marketing enhanced marketing that you've got behind you. It shows that you know what you're doing. And so if they haven't had time to look at it, you're going to have to briefly go through this and say, well, I'm just going to show you a little bit about our company because I know that's important to you. And if you walk in and they say, oh, yes, I loved looking at that presentation. I'm very impressed with your company and I'm very impressed with you. That's what you want to hear. And then you sit down and say, well, then let's talk about your house. When you're talking to a seller, it's always a house. When you're talking to a buyer, it's a home. It's emotional disconnect when they're selling. It is an emotional connect when they're buying. So then you're going to talk about their house, and I use a particular presentation, and I know different MLSs have different ones, but I will share with you the one I use. It's called Toolkit CMA.
All right, terrific. Thank you so much.
You have to then go to some kind of mail or some kind of email, and I would probably go to the neighborhood and knock on the doors of the neighbors and see how much information I could get. You can certainly get the name of the owner and probably the number from the PDA site. Find out if they live in the same town or if they live out of town, or, you know, as much as you can find out. It's PV, Property Valuation Assessment, and every county has one. P as in Peter, V as in Victor, A as in Apple, PVA. It's all the properties in your county and what they are being assessed for, the amount of money they're paying taxes on. It also lists the owner and the last time the property sold, and you know, all the history of the property. I'll leave you with this because next time we're going to talk about that listing appointment and how to get that listing and how to overcome the objection of pricing strategies. So do not be afraid. Fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. The choice is yours. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. It has truly been my pleasure. I hope that you have 4 listings by the time we have our next class.